DJB Beasley and Tracy Hott were two 17-year-old students from Dothan, Alabama, who disappeared on July 31, 1999. They left their homes to celebrate JB's birthday by attending a party in a nearby town. However, while en route to the celebration, they became disoriented and ended up in Ozark, over 20 miles away. At approximately 11:35 p.m., Tracy made a call to her mother, Carol Roberts, from a payphone, informing her that they were lost and required directions to return home. Carol later recalled that Tracy's tone did not indicate any distress. There was no fear in her voice. They exchanged affectionate words before Carol went to bed. The following day, when Carol discovered that Tracy had not returned, concern escalated, prompting her to report Tracy as missing. Similarly, the Beasley family realized JB had not come home and contacted the authorities. Later that day, the Beasley family's black 1993 Mazda 929, which JB had been driving, was found on Herring Avenue in Ozark. Tragically, the worst fears of both families were confirmed when the bodies of JB and Tracy were discovered in the trunk of the vehicle. Both girls had been shot in the head, and DNA evidence found on JB's clothing and underwear indicated that she had been sexually assaulted prior to her death. The murder weapon has never been located, and the horrific nature of the murders led police to conduct over 500 interviews. Authorities conducted interviews and DNA testing on approximately 70 potential suspects. They also established a tip line and offered a reward of $115,000 for information that could lead to an arrest in the case. Despite receiving various leads, none proved to be substantial. Hopes were frequently raised, only to be dashed by numerous false confessions that were later discredited. One resident of Ozark claimed that a man had encountered the girls at a Chevron station on East Broad Street, but it was soon revealed that this individual had fabricated the story in an effort to claim the reward. Meanwhile, a man from Michigan confessed to the murders, but this claim was also disproven when his DNA did not match the evidence collected at the crime scene. Although the case was featured on national television programs, it quickly went cold. For 2 decades, the investigation remained stagnant until August 2018, when Ozark investigators sought assistance from Parabon Nanolabs to help resolve the case. Parabon Nanolabs is renowned for its genetic genealogy unit, which has successfully identified numerous unidentified individuals and played a crucial role in apprehending the Golden State Killer, Joseph James DeAngelo. By analyzing the DNA found at the crime scene, Parabon Nanolabs assisted investigators in identifying a potential suspect. The genealogy team provided a list of surnames that could be linked to the suspect's family tree, one of which was McCrane. Shortly thereafter, a police officer recalled attending high school with Coy McCrane, leading to an approach for him to submit to a DNA test. At the time, McCrane was a 45-year-old truck driver with no prior criminal history. He was also known to be a part-time preacher and had established a non-profit organization named Spirit and Truth Lifeline Ministries in 2013. Residing just 1 mile from the location where the bodies of the girls were discovered, McCrane was arrested in March 2019 and faced multiple charges, including 2 counts of capital murder, 1 count of capital murder for rape, and 1 count of capital murder related to the 2 killings. He pleaded not guilty and denied any acquaintance with the victims during police interrogations. However, as his trial commenced in April 2023, McCrane admitted to having met JB a few months prior to her death at a mall. He was 24 years old and married in 1999, stating that they had intended to meet on July 31 st, but she did not arrive, prompting him to go to his mother's house. He claimed that JB had his mother's phone number and that he waited for her to call, which never happened. Around 11:30 that night, after leaving his mother's residence to return home, his vehicle broke down on the route, leading him to stop at a Chevron station. There, he encountered JB and Tracy, providing them with directions to exit the town. McCrane asserted that he and JB then went to his truck, where they engaged in consensual sexual activity. He claimed that the girls subsequently dropped him off near his home, and he had not seen them again. Additionally, he stated that he was unaware that JB Beasley, whose murder remained unsolved and was a high-profile case in 1999, was the same individual he knew as Jennifer. The police were unable to determine whether JB had any prior acquaintance with McCrane before her death, as there was no evidence to support his claim that they had arranged to meet or that they had met months earlier. On April 26, 2023, McCrane was convicted on all counts and received a life sentence without the possibility of parole. 3 months later, his request for a new trial was denied. However, earlier this year, his attorney submitted another motion to Alabama's Court of Criminal Appeals. McCrane is currently incarcerated at the William E. Donaldson Correctional Facility in Jefferson County, Alabama, where he continues to assert his innocence. Amore Wiggins, previously known as the Opala Jane Doe, was discovered on January 28, 2012, in the Brookhaven Trailer Park in Opala, Alabama. A local resident found a small human skull and promptly reported it to the authorities. Upon their arrival, investigators uncovered additional human remains along with a pink long-sleeve shirt adorned with heart buttons and ruffles. The discovery of the bones, which were clearly those of a child, raised significant alarm among officials. It was quickly determined that the skull belonged to a young African American girl aged between 4 and 7 years. A comprehensive examination of her remains indicated that she had suffered from malnutrition during her life and exhibited a noticeable deformity in her left eye, which could have been congenital or the result of injury or abuse. Investigators then initiated an extensive search for the identity of the deceased. Investigators examined birth and school records in an effort to locate a child who could potentially be identified as Jane Doe, but their search yielded no results. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children produced an image depicting what Jane Doe might have looked like, yet this initiative did not lead to any breakthroughs. In September 2016, a significant lead emerged when a former teacher from a vacation Bible school at Greater Peace Church in Opelika, located approximately 10 minutes from where the remains were discovered, provided investigators with photographs of a child taken during the summer of 2011. The girl in the photographs bore a resemblance to Jane Doe, including a distinctive eye deformity, and appeared to be around 4 or 5 years old at the time the images were taken. The teacher noted that the child was often unkempt and quiet, tending to isolate herself from others, and she struggled to communicate with her peers. Unfortunately, the teacher could not recall the child's name, and there were no official records available, as the church did not formally register attendees of the event. Despite the release of the child's images by the police, no one came forward to identify her. With limited leads remaining, investigators sought assistance from AAM Inc., a prominent genetic genealogy firm, to help identify Jane Doe. In October 2022, the identity of Opelika Jane Doe was confirmed as 5-year-old Amore Wiggins. Amore was born to Lamar Vicara and Sher Wiggins, but at the time of her death, she was in the full custody of her father, 50-year-old Vika, who had previously served in the Navy. 2 months after her identity was confirmed, investigators traveled to the naval station in Jacksonville, Florida, to inform the staff about Amore's death. He did not provide detectives with any information regarding his daughter and notably has never reported her as missing. Authorities also discovered around this time that Amore was not enrolled in school at the time of her death. Vika's wife, Ruth, whom he married in 2006, stated that she was not acquainted with his daughter and was unaware of the identity of the child's mother. However, Sherry, the mother, was later identified by genealogists and was residing in Maryland when approached in December. She confirmed that Amore was indeed her daughter and provided legal documents indicating that she had minimal involvement in her daughter's life since Vika had obtained full custody. Sherry continued to pay child support long after Amore's death and explained that it was not by her own choice that she lost contact with Amore after 2009, asserting that she had attempted to regain custody through the courts multiple times. Consequently, she did not report Amore as missing, believing the girl was still with her father. On January 17, 2023, Vika and his wife were arrested in Jacksonville. The 50-year-old faced charges of felony murder, while both he and Ruth were charged with failure to report a missing child. During a preliminary hearing in March, Detective Alfred White informed the court that Ruth had admitted to not being entirely truthful during her initial interactions with the police, as she was unaware of the situation. She claimed that the couple had custody of Amore but that she had become overwhelmed. The girl's needs prompted a request for Vika to take Amore to his family residing in Alabama. Following this request, she claimed she did not see the 5-year-old again and assumed that Amore was under the care of other relatives. Meanwhile, staff members associated with Vika reportedly confessed to murdering Amore during police interviews. However, they denied causing the injuries evident on her remains, including a deformity of the eye that earlier photographs indicated she did not possess at birth. The staff did not provide details regarding the circumstances of her death but mentioned that they attempted to revive Amore after she passed away, which occurred sometime between 2010 and 2011. News reports have indicated that Amore endured more than 15 broken bones prior to her death. Vika was subsequently denied bail, while Ruth was granted bail but is required to wear an ankle monitor while awaiting trial. During their interviews with Vika staff, police discovered that an anonymous report had been made to Child Protective Services (CPS) in Virginia, where Amore and the Vika staff were living at the time. Ruth acknowledged that CPS had been contacted but claimed that the agency found no cause for concern during their visit to the family. However, police have yet to obtain the CPS records related to this incident. The Vika staff members are still awaiting trial. In mid-1971, Rita Curran, a 24-year-old second-grade teacher and maid, was living in Burlington, Vermont. This was her first experience living away from home, and she shared her new apartment with 3 roommates whom she did not know particularly well. Unfortunately, Rita's initial foray into full-time adulthood was abruptly interrupted when, in a tragic turn of events, her life was cut short. On the early morning of July 20, 1971, one of Rita's roommates found her deceased. A post-mortem examination revealed that Rita had been beaten, sexually assaulted, and asphyxiated, with reports indicating that she had fought fiercely against her assailant, though tragically, she ultimately succumbed. During the investigation of the scene, police discovered a single cigarette butt near Rita's arm, which was collected as evidence. However, they had few other clues and even fewer leads. Several residents of the apartment building where Rita resided were interviewed, including the Darris couple, who lived 2 floors above her. Notably, William Darris had a criminal history, making him a suspect, but his wife provided him with an alibi for the time of the murder, leading investigators to rule him out. At one point, investigators considered the possibility that Ted Bundy was involved in Rita's death, given that she worked at a motel near his birthplace. Additionally, a retired FBI agent noted that the crime scene bore similarities to those associated with Bundy. However, Bundy denied any involvement, even as he faced execution in 1989. Throughout the investigation, there were 13 separate suspects at various times, but the police never gathered sufficient evidence to charge any of them. Rita's case remained inactive for decades. In 2014, a DNA profile was developed from the cigarette butt, but it did not match anyone in national databases. 5 years later, a genetic genealogy team tested the cigarette butt again and determined that the DNA was linked to the Darris family, the same couple residing 2 floors above Rita. A pocket knife was used to stab her in the abdomen without any apparent reason. Although Darris was apprehended for the assaults, his friends chose not to pursue charges. A subsequent incident took place during dinner when Darris unexpectedly reached over and began to strangle his wife. Following this event, the woman initiated divorce proceedings. However, Darris could not be arrested or charged, as he passed away from a drug overdose in 1983 at the age of 46. Investigators have since deemed Rita's case closed. We invite you to share your thoughts and reactions in the comments section below, and kindly remember to like this video and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you.